Welcome, everybody, to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. My name is Ross Benjamin, host of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. And like every Monday, I am joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Doug, how was your weekend?
From a personal point of view, it was very good. College football wasn't so kind to me this weekend, but you know what? That's week one, and I'm not actually pretty much in all opening days. I'm not a huge fan, but didn't work out for me. But hey, I will say though, okay, and we've talked about this general topic before. So today it's like, okay, look at my closet and I see this shirt and it says Land Shark right here. And of course, for those that don't know, I was never necessarily a big fan of Jimmy Buffett's, in terms of the musical part of it, but I liked his beer. Okay. And so, and this summer when I was down in the Miami and the Keys, because it's all over the Keys, Land Shark beer with that whole laid back lifestyle down there. And so I thought, you know what, I'll bring it out just for this show, just for Ross's show. Okay. And the Winner's Circle show. So here I am dressed to honor Jimmy Buffett. Okay. And no beer right now, but maybe later.
Thank you for that, Doug. We appreciate that. And Jimmy Buffett, one of the true icons in rock and roll, and he'll be sorely missed by many, many millions of people. So God rest his soul. And hey, we all have our time, and his was the Lord called him, and hope they got one more great musician in heaven. Let's hope.
That's for sure.
Anyway, all right, let's get to the meat and potatoes here. We're going to be talking 2 college football games that take place on Saturday. We are recording on Monday, September the 4th. It's Labor Day, and we're hoping that you're having a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Stay safe, folks. Have fun and enjoy. But we're going to be taking a look at NC State at Notre Dame. That will be covered by myself, and Doug will be looking at Nebraska and Colorado. Interesting to hear what Doug has to say in that game as well. Both of those games go at noon Eastern time. The Notre Dame game's on ABC, the Nebraska-Colorado game on Fox. So there you have it. You don't have to worry about ESPN. I don't know about some of you out there, but I'm a little pissed off at my cable company and ESPN as they shut ESPN down here. Because of contractual problems. And lo and behold, a lot of people in Western New York are not very happy with the whole situation there, Doug. But in any event, we are sponsored by gamblersworld.com. You could find all the 10 great handicappers at our pick site, which is gamblersworld.net. And then all our videos will be shown at gamblersworld.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, folks. It costs you absolutely nothing. There's no hidden agenda. You'll see a WC logo right there in the bottom right-hand corner of your video box. If you're watching on a PC, just click on that. That'll get you subscribed. And then also, if you're watching on your mobile device, you'll see a black subscribe button right underneath your video box. Just give it a click. That'll get you subscribed. Again, folks, doesn't cost you a thing. You're privy to some of the best information from a handicapping and sports betting perspective you're going to get anywhere on the internet on this channel. Monday through Friday, we broadcast, and some of the great handicappers on the show, including myself and Doug Upstone. So I'll give myself a plug as well, Doug. How's that? Anyway, Doug, what's your observation?
Smash. Aren't you supposed to smash that button?
No, that's smashing the like button. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, smash the like button.
Jesse wakes up the whole. He wakes up all the wildlife in the jungles of Thailand when he says that, or yells that, I should say. Anyway, Doug, your observations from week one. Real quickly, I don't want to steal your thunder, hopefully, but I looked 74-11 straight up for the home teams in week one. Yeah. And then, of course, there was 85 games, but 43 of them were, or 42 of them were FBS versus FCS games, so nearly half. And 26-17, the home favorites were when it was FBS opponents, FBS teams versus each other. And how about this? Favorites of 36.5 or greater. Everything we tell you to stay away from, they were 4-0 straight up in ATS last week. Those of you who like them large chalks, congratulations. Anyway, Doug, what did you observe in week one?
Well, it was plenty of interesting things to learn. The Colorado, I'll cover that more later. A couple things here that I have that caught my eye. Favorites of 7.5 to 10 were 4-2, but 2-4 against the spread. Okay, that's just something to keep an eye on going forward. Like I say, it's just 1 week, that no big deal. And then, you mentioned about the big favorites in FCS. FCS, of course, did not win any games, okay, of all those that were played, but they held up pretty well against the spread. It was basically 500, okay, against the spread. So the problem, though, there is that it's fairly ridiculous that they don't release these lines literally until the last minute. So anybody that has an interest in playing them, you have a window seemingly of like an hour, especially for the early games. I mean, it's really bad. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of that, but that's just how it's being done today. The Colorado story was certainly of note. I'll be covering that, from that standpoint. And I'm trying to think of another one that was sort of interesting is that the favorites of 14.5, I'm talking about bigger favorites, but 14.5 to 21 to up to 21 points, 6-0, but only 2-4 against the spread. So that's sort of interesting as well. Again, just things I'll be following all year long, and be able to on Mondays to report these types of elements, whether it be, however we do it, NFL or college. So there was more and different things that kind of went on, but it was just more to me, it was informational to watch these games, to see how different teams played. USC looks great offensively. I'm not sure what they're going to have defensively. That was, that came up pretty quickly. The Colorado thing, trying to think, there was something else, but it escapes me at the moment. Go ahead. What were your thoughts on too, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty top-heavy type of week.
Yes.
You didn't see with the exception of the Colorado game, there's not one tremendous upset or stunning upset I could remember off the top of my head. Anyway, I may be missing one, folks. If you want to chime in with your comments, please do so. But in any event, in week one's in the books. Well, there's one game still left to be played. Right. Clemson and Florida State. And if you see this, or Clemson and Duke, excuse me. And if you see this in time, I do have a pick on that game tonight. Florida State really showed their wares last night, Doug. It was a close game early in the second half, and then they just pulled away and ran away with a 45-24 win. It's good. It's good to see Florida State be good. They suffered for so long, and they were an iconic program under Coach Bowden. But it's been one coach after another, one failure after another. I'd like to see them back in the national spotlight where they're contending for a national championship or at least an ACC title. Yeah.
I mean, they're really, you can see they're really good, and they have that defensive line. Once they started to control the game, that was huge. From that standpoint. One thing I was a little surprised at, though, that the last score that they had was 38-17, 2 minutes to go. I mean, could have taken a knee, but didn't. And I'm not sure if that's a problem or not. For a lot of people. And then the other one that we'll touch briefly on was Penn State.
Yes. Unbelievable. I was just going to bring that up. Go ahead. I don't want to steal. No. 5 seconds to go in the game, and Penn State's on the 5-yard line of West Virginia. They're winning by 16. The point spread is 20.5 to 21, depending on where your sports book is. And they run a play. The game was out of reach. And they score a touchdown with 5 seconds left and get the cover and win by 23. My thoughts. In the old days, the conspiracy theorists would be coming out of the woodwork. These days, I think you're going to see schools do more of that, Doug, because especially when it's large point spreads and there's a possible cover for the home school or their alum who, by the way, can legally bet now across the United States. So I can't help but think that was the call there. Yeah, look, I mean, loyal alums are going to bet on their home school, and if you got an opportunity to cover, they're telling coaches to go for it. And that's what I'm thinking anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's always kind of been the case, and it used to be maybe more selective. If there was like big alumni that came to a game, there are certain situations. The other thing too that it did, not only did that cover for Penn State, it also took an under 2 and over with that as well, so that there was the double whammy on that game. So if you had West Virginia and the under, yikes, that ended up being a tough day from that standpoint. But I mean, I don't know how else you describe it other than, I mean, I'd like to know the reasoning, and of course we'll never know the reasoning, from that standpoint.
I don't know anything for a fact. I'm just surmising.
No, right.
I might be 100% wrong, but
right.
I can't help but think a program like Penn State, James Franklin, their head coach, they've, barring the whole debacle with the Joe Paterno situation and the defensive coordinator, that's Jerry Sandusky, and that whole mess. It's, take that all away. And since that time, they've been nothing but class, that program. And so I got to believe that there's something along the lines that I'm saying, that now with this legalization of sports books across the country and putting them in stadiums where you can bet inside the stadium, the whole 9 yards, we're going to see more of that as time moves on. So, and it wouldn't be a conspiracy. Now, what I thought was a little strange was there's one game, and I can't remember. It was an FBS versus FCS opponent. They kicked a field goal with 3 seconds to go in a lopsided game that was a difference between the game going over and under. Now, there I have to wonder a little bit, because it makes absolutely no sense. I'm sure the coach would say, well, we want to get some work in on special teams and all that kind of stuff. But, anyway. All right, let's get to the games, Doug. Colorado, Nebraska. I mean, this line jumped right out at me. It's like Colorado goes to TCU, knocks off the Horned Frogs, who were in the national championship game last year. Impressive performance, is a 20.5-point underdog, wins 45-42. Nebraska, what can you say? It looks like the same old to me, Doug. Yes, Coach Rule is there, and I'm sure they're going to be improved as the season moves on. And I really think he'll be the answer at Nebraska in the long haul. But a 7-point lead with less than 3 minutes to go, and you lose the game in regulation time. 4 turnovers, just continuing that recent trend that goes back to the Coach Frost, where they just shoot themselves in the foot and give games away, Doug.
Well, that's what happens when you have quarterbacks that are turnover prone. Okay, Adrian Martinez beforehand, was a big proponent of that. The other thing too about this line or this game, the original opening line in this game. So this is what you could have bet back in late June or early July, was Nebraska -6.5. Not long after Colorado upset TCU, the Buffaloes came out at -1.5. And as we sit here today, it's -3 for the Buffaloes. Now, one thing I'm not going to do is, and anybody, whatever, I'm not a Coach Prime guy. Okay. He's Deion Sanders to me. All right. And you know what? His staff and what they did for that game, they deserve all the credit in the world. They rebuilt that roster basically twice. Brought in a ton more talent than anybody conceivably, at least to me, could have realized. And, they were 3 touchdown underdogs on the road, and they played the team was a national played for the national championship last year. Now, right now, I'm not sure that Colorado isn't or is probably close to as popular seemingly as Kansas City in terms of the public point of view. But let's consider a couple things before we just, go head over heels for this. TCU in their last 4 games has allowed 46.5 points per game. Prior to last season, Sonny Dykes was known as an offensive coach who did a good job, but really his teams were always poor defensively and pretty average in terms of their performance. And the other thing, Colorado, not only did they give up 42 points to TCU, they gave up 541 yards. Now, like I said, Sanders and his staff did a fantastic job in exploiting all the weaknesses of the Horned Frogs defense here, and they deserve all the accolades for that. Now, you already mentioned about Nebraska, blowing yet another game. But you know what? I'm blaming the quarterback 100% on this. I watched Jeff Sims play at Georgia Tech, was never impressed. He could run pretty well. At times, he was a good deep ball thrower, but hardly ever consistent. So that's what Nebraska is saddled with right now. Hopefully, they have another quarterback, if not this week, the following week, that has some ability. Otherwise, this team is not going to reach its goals in terms of what they want to, accomplish, this upcoming season. But in this one, I'm looking at it, the spread. All my power numbers have this game basically Colorado either a push or minus 0.1 points. I think Matt Rule now has tape, on this game. He's going to look at ways to devise to stop the Buffalo's running game. I think Shedeur Sanders will be kept in the pocket more. Again, huge expectations this week. The public is going to be 100% on Nebraska. From that standpoint, the value, no question, is with Nebraska on this one. And if it goes up to 4 or more, I'd have to probably go with them just based on value. But if it stays at 3, Ross, I might even have to do one of your favorite things, go with the money line, or if it even goes below with Colorado, because I absolutely do not trust that Sims won't make a mistake in this game, even more so on the road. So give me, with a slight lean, give me the Colorado -3 on this one. If it goes below, a little better. If it goes above for this show, I'm just going to stick with that. I might have to do something personally different if the line goes higher.
Yeah, well, again, I hope you win, like always, because I'm not going to touch this game. In my opinion, this line looks very fishy to me. Public perception is certainly going to lean toward Colorado. They're coming off an emotional win as a 3-touchdown underdog against a team that was in the national championship game last year, albeit with their defensive deficiencies. And Nebraska, again, off a devastating loss. What else is new? I mean, finding ways to lose. Almost like here we go again mentality as soon as things start to shift momentum-wise near the end of a close game. This line opened Colorado just 2.5, -2.5. I know Doug was referring back to July, but I went by the Sunday night line when it first came out, and it was 2.5. And now it's up to 3. But I just think this is, I fully expected Colorado after the showing last week to be anywhere from a 5 to 6.5 point favorite in this game. And it's 3, which when that happens, no, I don't jump all over the favorite. I just think there's something there that I don't know. And when that happens, I don't bet on stuff I don't know, Doug. It's hard enough to win when you bet on stuff let alone uncovered stuff that you just don't know. So I'm going to go with Doug on this. I'm just going to squeeze for him and hope that the Colorado Buffaloes come up with another big effort. Boy, oh boy, this Shedeur Sanders, 510 yards passing, had 4 receivers with better than 117 yards receiving. You had a running back over 100 yards. He also played on defense. I believe he's a cornerback like his father was, and he made 8 tackles. Correct me if I'm wrong. If he's a safety, he plays in the secondary. He had 8 tackles. My point being, you're playing quarterback throwing for 500 yards and you're making 8 tackles on the other side of the ball. And how about this kid, Travis Hunter? Did you see that interception on the 3-yard line?
Yep.
Unbelievable instincts on that play. And by the way, he played both ways. Yep. So not only is he a starting secondary player, and this kid was a 5-star coming out of high school and went to Jackson State with Deion Sanders, and Deion brought him over to Colorado. And boy, he doesn't look a bit out of place. He played on offense as well, by the way, made 11 catches for 119 yards. Can you say possible Heisman Trophy? Hey, it's on its way. Anyway, let me take a look at my game, NC State at Notre Dame. That's 12 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. That game will be on ABC. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are a 7.5-point favorite. They opened at 8, came down to 7.5. The total in this game is 50. All right, NC State, they win their season opener. But like I said, I had it on last week's show. I had UConn plus the points over them, and UConn did cover. North Carolina State was a better team, like I said they were going to be, but a bit of a listless effort. I mean, to win that game 24-14. And this is also a team in Notre Dame that's coming off 2 consecutive blowout wins, albeit it was against Tennessee State last week, an FCS opponent, which is the first time Notre Dame's played an FCS opponent, I think, ever. And They won 56-3. And the week before, they beat Navy 42-3. And Irish outgained both of those teams by a combined 1,001 to 227 yards. Very impressive with their balance on offense, 54% runs, 46% passes, 412 yards rushing in 2 games, 589 yards passing, 6.3 yards per rush, 10.9 yards per pass attempt. Very impressive. Now, keep in mind the competition they faced. Navy is not a very good team. Navy doesn't challenge you vertically or has no inkling of a passing game. And Tennessee State, they were just outmanned and outclassed. I mean, the kids, it's an FCS school. I mean, they're not 4- and 5-star athletes that Notre Dame gets. In any event, this defense still Notre Dame allowing 2.6 yards per rush. And you look at NC State's offense last week, they ran the ball 46 times and only threw it 26 in that win against UConn. They're going to have to throw the ball a little more because I don't see them being able to run the ball effectively like they did against UConn last week against Notre Dame. Sam Hartman, I mean, the early returns to me is everything I thought he was going to be. I thought he would be a huge difference maker for the Fighting Irish. They finally have that legitimate high caliber quarterback that they've been missing for many, many years. And he's 3 games against NC State in his career. When he was at Wake Forest, threw for over 900 yards in those 3 games. And this is also a kid that he started the year 33 for 40, 82.5%, 445 yards, 6 touchdowns against no interceptions. He also has a rushing touchdown as well. So, I mean, you can't ask him to do much better than that. You can't ask him, he doesn't schedule the opponents. The AD does. So they went out and did what they had to do. And I just think Notre Dame people are undervalued. I just think they're going to be undervalued for a while now. And it's hard for me to say that, Doug, because Notre Dame is like the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody wants to bet on them. Well, they've lost a lot of luster in that regard over the years. And I just think right in this spot here, even laying better than the touchdown on the road, I'm going to go with the Irish here. Also away favorites of 3.5 to 19.5 points coming off back-to-back wins in which they allowed 9 points or fewer. They won 14 or more games of their last 22. They're playing an opponent like North Carolina State that's won 13 or more of their last 28 at home. That's the other thing. North Carolina State 23-5 in their last 28 at home. And here they are better than the touchdown underdog against Notre Dame. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame here. I'm going to lay the 7.5. Optimally, I'm going to wait a little bit, see if this line comes down to 7, and it came down to 7.5 in the last 24 hours from 8. But that's going to be my play. Notre Dame minus 7.5 right now. I'll live with that line.
Yeah, no question. NC State this is a big game for them. They'll definitely be really fired up, and so I expect them to be in the game the entire time. But ultimately, I can't see them winning and covering. I think Notre Dame. I mean, they look extremely legit. There's not a lot of weaknesses. Maybe we're gonna find some more. Coming up this week. But I mean, in terms of just how they played, as you said, they've they played weaker opponents. They should have gone out and beaten them badly, and they have. Okay, so that's the thing. And they have the quarterback, as you mentioned, that has the quality now to be able to up, when his team needs him, he has the ability to do that. I'm a little concerned about the pass rush a little bit there still, because he's getting some pressure, and against weaker opponents, that's a bit of a concern. So I wouldn't be surprised if NC State does some more blitzing this week, just to change it up a little bit. So that'll be a key thing to watch for in the game. But ultimately, I can see Notre Dame winning by around 10 or so, Ross.
Yeah. Sam Hartman, the difference is going to be is Notre Dame's had a good power running game for the last few seasons. That's never been an issue with them. The problem is because of the caliber of quarterbacks they had, which aren't up to Power 5 standards or schools that contend for a national championship, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah,
I'm going to probably get some backlash from this, but that's okay. But the difference is going to be now you no longer could stack the box with 8 guys again and just sell out to stop the run and challenge the quarterback to beat you with his arm and have total confidence he's not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do that with Sam Hartman. And if you want to start blitzing him, he's a very smart quarterback. He knows how to handle the blitz. I saw on a couple of occasions in a Navy game, because Navy likes to send a lot of people, and he just got the ball out of his hands quickly and completed a pass and kept the sticks moving. So we'll see. Notre Dame. Go ahead, Doug.
No, go ahead.
Notre Dame -7.5 for me. And Doug likes the Colorado Buffaloes -3 over the hapless Nebraska Cornhuskers. Go ahead, Doug. Your thoughts.
One final point is the other thing too. What it appears, we'll find out again more this week, but Notre Dame receivers are far more athletic, on the perimeter, and look to be much better than what they've had. No names at this point, but I think we might learn more about them as the season goes along. Some of these names, so that's one thing. So I'm going to dive right into then, Ross. What your next question is going to be? Say, Doug, what do you got going? Well, Ross, I'll tell you. I'll let everybody else know then too. So NFL starts this week, starts Thursday night. And then, so it's week 1. I've won 5 of the last 6 years in the NFL. So I'm looking to make it 6 out of 7. Going forward, get something going there. I say looking for a big bounce back weekend in college football. Otherwise, baseball continues to do very well for me. 40-24 of late, about 5 weeks, 62.5%. And MLB props staying red hot, Ross. 9-2 of late and 14-5. I had a big play going today earlier. It's literally in progress as we're doing this video. So hopefully I come up, on the winning side on that one. And I'll be back Thursday, hopefully with more good news about that too.
Yes, you will be back Thursday, and we'll be with Kyle Hunter on Thursday as well, as Kyle did a great job last week on the show. He'll be with us every Thursday going forward, at least till early November, and then we'll cross that bridge when it comes. And we'll be talking NFL on Thursday on that show. Doug, I've been on a terrific roll with the NFL in the month of September. I mentioned it a couple times, and I said, let me go back and go through my records in September in NFL regular season action. And the good folks over at Sports Capping do a fabulous job with that, where we could research our record through a time and date parameters. And 139-75 since 2010 with my NFL regular season picks in the month of September. At 65%. Let me say that again, 139-75. And that includes 14-5 last year. Also on a very good all sports run. You can check out all my hot streaks and records over at gamblersworld.net, where I'm number 1 since the inception of the site in terms of money earned. So a lot of good things happening, not only winning in baseball, winning in all sports in the NFL, like I just alluded to. For whatever, like Doug would say, I can't explain it other than the fact that, as Doug knows, in September, if you're going to get him in the NFL, you might find some vulnerabilities in the lines, because once the season goes into October and November and December, they get razor sharp. That's not to say we don't win then, but if we have an advantage, it's early on. Anyway, Doug, always a pleasure, my friend. And we'll see you back on Thursday. I'll be back here tomorrow with Jesse Shule and Sean Higgs in the morning. I'll be back in the afternoon with Chip Chirimbus and Paul Bovey. We'll be talking college football in the morning, NFL later in the day. So you don't want to miss that, folks, until the next time. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a like button right underneath our video here. Give it a smash. I'm not going to do a Jesse Shule on you. Yeah, just, the old right hand, good right hand, smash that like button. Just a small token of your appreciation for all the work, time, and research and preparation that we put in to making these successful videos, successful show, and to make you a smarter sports better today than you were yesterday. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.